Muy bien, entonces yo comienzo.
Sí, sí. Oui.
Muy buenos días a todos. Es un gusto a nombre del Colegio de México, del Centro de Estudios Sociológicos y por supuesto del Programa Interdisciplinario de Estudios de la Mujer, darles la bienvenida a estas jornadas que tienen un propósito múltiple de, en primer lugar, conmemorar los 30 años de la fundación del Programa Interdisciplinario de Estudios de la Mujer en el Colegio de México, que ha tenido una trayectoria muy exitosa, tanto en la promoción de los estudios de la mujer y de género contemporáneos, así como en la formación de profesionales y especialistas en materia de género. Actualmente forma parte del Centro de Estudios Sociológicos, dentro del cual nos hemos enriquecido mucho con el trabajo que hemos desarrollado y el intercambio de ideas que han permitido el avance de buena parte de las investigaciones y también de la docencia en el centro. El día de hoy, como parte de las actividades de los 30 años del PIEM y de los 40 años del Centro de Estudios Sociológicos, tenemos el gusto de inaugurar estas jornadas en el marco también de las relaciones que tenemos con el Colegio Franco-Mexicano en Ciencias Sociales y también en colaboración con el Centro de Estudios Femeninos y Estudios de Género de París 8, para lo cual tenemos aquí el honor de la presencia de Anne-Manuelle Berger para la inauguración. Tenemos una serie de conferencias y jornadas el día de hoy y de aquí al viernes que esperamos que sean de interés para todos nosotros, así como para el público en general. Parte de las conferencias, entiendo, se van a videotransmitir, ¿verdad? Entonces también habrá una videotransmisión de buena parte de las conferencias para la grabación y para la memoria. Y bueno, para nosotros es muy importante el desarrollo de la investigación en materia de la mujer y en materia de género. Es un tema que, como todos sabemos, ha sido central para tratar de entender la problemática contemporánea de la igualdad y del desarrollo en México y en América Latina, y también es un honor tener a los invitados que vienen en esta conferencia, entre otras a Anne-Manuelle Berger, a Eric Fassan, a Bahía Dato, si no pronuncio mal su nombre, y varios otros colegas que van a participar en las distintas mesas. Sin más, por el momento le doy la palabra a Anne-Marie Berger para que también nos dé unas palabras de inauguración y después a Karin. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. My name is Anne Berger, and I'm the current co-director and a long-standing member of the Centre d'études féminines et d'études de genre Center for Women's and Gender Studies of the Universities of Paris 8 in France. First, let me thank our hosts, Karine Tina and the Interdisciplinary Program in Women's Studies of the prestigious Colmex, for inviting Eric Fassin and myself to participate in the celebration of PM's 30th anniversary in connection with the celebration of our own center's anniversary, which is also taking place during the course of this academic year. PM is still a young creature, do I dare say a young woman, compared to our middle-aged center, which is turning 40 this year. But before I say something about what this age difference might involve, let me say a few words on the topic of the anniversary. Why celebrate and celebrate jointly the anniversary of our foundation? What prompts us and allows us to do so? One cannot celebrate an anniversary without a sense of history and accomplishment, without having earned in our own eyes and in the eyes of the institutions that shelter us a right to memorialization. Celebrating our anniversaries is thus a kind of performative act that retroactively posits the eventful nature and the historical or historial dimension, indeed the importance of our coming into being. But that performative realization should not only be cause for self-congratulation. It imposes an intellectual and political responsibility on us, which we will try to live up to during this conference. I indicated earlier that the respective dates of our births made a difference in what we are and why we are what we are, as well as what we are up to today. This, along with the difference in place, Mexico and Latin America, France and Western Europe, will probably inflect the ways in which we answer the questions raised in the conference's statement of purpose: where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? I do not know much about the institutional and intellectual history of PM, and I'm eager to learn about it. But I will say a few words about my own and now Eric's center in this respect. The Centre d'études féminines et d'études de genre, originally Centre de recherche en études féminines, and I will probably say something on this name change and more generally on what is at stakes in the naming and constant renaming of our field, very heavy stakes indeed in the course of our debates. Our center then was created by Hélène Cixous, then professor of English literature, and that's an important detail since as a result, our center had a strong humanistic bent and outlook rather than a social science one for the first 20 or 25 years of its existence. At the new experimental center, as it was called, of Vincennes, again, such was the original name of this institution of higher education, created in 1969 in the wake of the 68 upheaval. And it was created, our center was created in the course of the year 1973-1974. So as our center saw the light of day roughly at the same time as the first women's studies programs in the United States. It is thus one of the oldest programs of this sort in Europe, perhaps the oldest one. I tried to research the issue before I came here, and I couldn't find any trace of an older program in women's studies in Western Europe, but perhaps I haven't looked hard enough, so I do not want to make a false claim of precedence. As you probably know, the first women's studies programs to have been officially recognized in the US Academy, and therefore in the world, were a program at San Diego State College and another one in SUNY Buffalo, two middle-range public institutions in 1970. Before that, a program in female studies had been launched at Cornell University by a group of academic activists in 1969, and that program became part of the official curriculum in 1972 under the name of Women's Studies. The early 70s also marked the peak of the women's liberation movement in the US and in Western Europe. The academic programs launched in the 70s bear the mark of that original context. Since then, we have experienced two or more waves, depending on how and what one counts. Now, why the history of feminism is divided into waves rather than periods deserves a commentary. And we have witnessed a number of turns, both intellectual or theoretical and political, which we need to assess and think about, something we will try and do in the course of this year, starting here in Mexico. To put it much too neatly and succinctly, the 70s in the West were the decade of women's studies, which developed in close connection with the women's movement. The women's studies programs were shaped by the at once political and intellectual need and will to assert something like a woman's point of view in order to counter or mitigate the dominant androcentric worldview. The 80s saw the development of feminist theory, a theory that both crowned and displaced what was previously termed feminist criticism within academia, at least in the US. With feminist theory, and at its core, was gender theory. Finally, a major epistemological break took place in the 90s in the US and one decade later in France, with what I have termed the queer turn in feminism, a turn whose nature and effects we are currently grappling with in France and in our center in particular. As a result, the body, and if I may say the bodies of our students have changed, metaphorically but also properly speaking, and their interests have shifted. Now, I know this cursory narrative is questionable in many respects, not only because it leaves out important aspects of our intellectual and political history, aspects I'm nonetheless aware of, but above all because it takes as its frame of reference an intellectual and institutional history which is first and foremost a North American history. I haste to add that it is indeed difficult to dissociate France and the US in this respect, since much of the research and theorizing about women, gender, and sexuality has developed along a Franco-American axis, at least in the second half of the 20th century. This is something that both Eric and myself have witnessed and studied. Hence also the prominent role played in that field by a certain Franco-American idiom. And as you know, if gender, the word gender, borrowed by the English language from the Old French word genre, has now come back to us from American English, feminism, you may remember, is a French word. And indeed, only in French is it tied to femmes, mujeres, women, intimately felt. Now, things have happened in such a way, then, that if the institutional history of our field is markedly different in France and in the US, with the steady growth of women's studies and gender studies programs in the US until the end of the 90s, and the difficult and many times stalled emergence of that field within the French academia until its recent consolidation and spread, our intellectual histories are both hopelessly and hopefully, depending on how you look at it, entangled. Which brings me to the last topic I want to broach in this short introduction, that is the question of the internationalization and perhaps transnationalization of our field, a move which follows or accompanies globalization. Now, does the transnationalization of our field, as well as of our intellectual and institutional practices, aim at or manage to counter the trends of globalization and its current power lines, or does it reinforce them, albeit unwittingly? This is a question we have to ask ourselves, and will ask, I'm sure, in the course of this conference. In any case, it is the ambiguous pull of globalization which brings us together, and which, beyond the contingent links of friendship, has prompted us to join forces on the occasion of our respective anniversaries, giving us a chance to learn about and from one another. Now, a few last word. I was talking about our age difference and the way different contexts, the different contexts of our respective foundations may have shaped our outlook and concerns. Yet, because of its difficult and delayed institutionalization, because of the hostility it has been met with for a long time, for reasons we may have the time to ponder over during the conference, the academic field of gender studies in France has the feel of the new. Our center has experienced several near deaths in its 40 years of tumultuous life, and therefore also several rebirths. As a result, we feel young or young again, at least with respect to our intellectual and political endeavor. And in the United States and also in the UK, where a few of these programs have even closed by now in the last 5 to 10 years, the dominant feeling, as you know, is one of fatigue, even exhaustion. And where gender studies and feminism are concerned, the discourse is largely one of melancholic retrospection. When I was in Ithaca, New York, this past summer, friends or colleagues asked me why I was writing on feminism and/or gender studies, whose time they felt is clearly past, an assessment confirmed by the current trends in the American academic book market. In contrast to that situation, there is no question that in France, right at this moment, gender studies are on the rise, and students flock to our center to the astonishment and sometimes irritation of our colleagues in the humanities and the social sciences. I should say that I don't completely buy into the narrative of doom or demise that has currency in the US, a narrative which concerns even the most recent turn or fold in Western gender studies, namely the queer turn. We know that students in the US are still drawn to these programs, even if the teaching faculty is tired of them, and indeed we at Paris 8 still get our yearly lot of enthusiastic North American students. Still, and forgive me for ending on a cautious, if not yet worried note, we shouldn't dismiss this phenomenon as we celebrate the current success of our respective centers or programs. What is happening in the UK and the US is, I think, cause for pause, if not yet worry. What has made some of these programs short-lived? Is there something in our institutional makeup, or worse, in our epistemological premises, that condemns our academic field to obsolescence when we know that questions of gender inequity and gender differences, as well as differences in sexuality, are all but solved, either intellectually or politically, in the world today, and are not anywhere close to being so, indeed probably cannot be so in several respects? When we know, finally, that however marginal in institutions of higher education and research, the questions we raise and deal with are central for the understanding and future of what we call humanity. In the meantime, though, let's look ahead, and let's start by looking forward to fruitful discussions in the coming days. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias a Anne por ya contextualizarnos, darnos una real y buena contextualización de este coloquio que vamos a celebrar. Por mi parte, en nombre del programa interdisciplinario de estudios de la mujer, tengo el gusto de darles a todas y a todos la bienvenida en el marco de este coloquio internacional, Estudios de las Mujeres, Estudios de Género, desde dónde venimos, dónde estamos y a dónde vamos. Por muy anecdótica que pueda parecer, la idea de este coloquio nació en un rincón de conversación informal en noviembre de 2012 en un café del barrio latino en París. Eric y yo nos poníamos al día de nuestras actividades pasadas y futuras. Y de repente le dije, el año próximo el PM va a cumplir 30 años. Y Eric me contestó, pues el CEFEG va a cumplir pronto 40 años. Con esta coincidencia en los aniversarios ya teníamos en manos un buen pretexto para volver a reunirnos y a reflexionar en torno a lo que el paso de estos decenios podía significar respectivamente para nuestros centros y programas. Más precisamente, nos pareció interesante la idea de poner en paralelo nuestras experiencias de institucionalización de los estudios de las mujeres y el género, y de pensarlo un poco así, de manera sencilla, cómo lo formulan estas preguntas. ¿Desde dónde venimos? O sea, en otros términos, ¿cuál ha sido el itinerario recorrido desde la fundación de nuestros centros y programas de estudios? ¿Dónde estamos hoy? Es decir, si los estudios que caracterizan nuestros programas académicos y que se han enfocado en las cuestiones femeninas, feministas y de género, siempre se han planteado dentro de una relación a la vez íntima y de tensión con los movimientos feministas. ¿Qué ocurre hoy? ¿Qué pasa? Y pues eso nos pareció interesante plantearnos esto, ¿no? ¿Y a dónde vamos mañana? Que es una verdadera pregunta que creo que tenemos que pensar y pensar conjuntamente con ustedes también. Porque en otros términos ¿cuáles son los retos, los desafíos que nos van a constituir el día de mañana, ¿no? Con la intención de no restringir el debate académico en un solo eje franco-mexicano, decidimos abrir el panorama e invitar a otros contextos bien diferentes. Estará con nosotros una representante de los estudios de género, la doctora Bahía Dato Abdul Hamid, del Centro de Liderazgo de la Mujer, Tun Fatima Hashim, de la Universidad Kebangsaan en Malasia. no sé si pronuncio bien. Pero la agradezco muchísimo y especialmente por haber realizado un viaje tan largo hasta nosotros. En un plan inicial también estaba programada la llegada de Ritu Menon, representante de la fundación del mayor movimiento feminista de New Delhi en la India, pero desgraciadamente no pudo llegar por razones de fuerza mayor. Como lo indica nuestro programa, vamos a trabajar durante 3 mañanas, de 10 a 2 de la tarde, de 10 de la mañana hasta las 2 de la tarde. Primero tendremos el placer de escuchar conferencias. Cada mañana vamos a empezar con una conferencia. Con la de Anne-Emmanuelle Berger, hoy mismo, Eric Fassin, mañana, y Bahia Dato Abdulhamid, el viernes. En un segundo momento hemos concebido este evento sobre todo para intercambiar entre nosotros, como les decía. Y entonces se va a desarrollar una mesa redonda después de cada conferencia en torno a estas 3 preguntas sobre el pasado, sobre el presente y el futuro, ¿no? Se tratará un poco de intercambiar ideas, experiencias, no solo entre ponentes, sino con el público. Para no hacer más larga esta introducción, voy a pasar a los agradecimientos. Este evento no hubiera sido posible sin el apoyo del Colegio Franco-Mexicano en Ciencias Sociales. Agradecemos especialmente a la Embajada de Francia en México. A nivel institucional, los agradecimientos van dirigidos también al Centro de Études Féminines y de Études de Genre, el CEFEG, representado por Anne-Emmanuelle Berger, de París 8, así como el Colegio de México, quien hospeda el evento. A nivel más individual, agradezco personalmente a cada participante, ponente, conferencista y moderadores de este coloquio, venidos desde la otra punta del mundo o venidos desde el otro lado de la ciudad, que representa también un esfuerzo. Sin ustedes tampoco se podía planear este encuentro académico. Agradezco también al doctor Alvarado, quien está en un constante apoyo al PM para que podamos realizar en las mejores condiciones nuestros eventos. Agradezco a Josefina Recillas, Luz del Carmen Zambrano y Andrés por la logística del evento y les agradezco a ustedes, público, por su presencia. Y sobre todo les deseamos a todas y todos disfrutar este gran momento de reflexiones, intercambios académicos. Es así como lo hemos diseñado y espero que suceda así y que promete ser fructífero y productivo. Muchas gracias. También agradecemos a la Fundación Ford, que nos ha ayudado durante todo el año para nuestras celebraciones y conmemoraciones. Pues ahora vamos a dejar a Anne presentar su conferencia y agradezco también y de paso presento al doctor Antoine Rodríguez, que es investigador huésped en el PM para estos meses. Gracias. Sí, sí. Ah. Excellente présentation, merci.